Welcome to Statistical Packages for the Social Sciences, PSY 3840. And I'll be your professor, Fred Coolidge. And let's go to assignments. And our first unit 1. And what we're going to do here is we're going to learn how to use SPSS, which is like a glorified Excel spreadsheet program. And the major difference is that SPSS allows you to do a lot more statistics, simple statistics and advanced statistics than an Excel spreadsheet. But in essence, it's a glorified spreadsheet. So we're going to learn how to deal with the SPSS user interface, this data editor, and the statistics viewer. And we're going to learn all about variables and how to define them. So let's go down into our, open up our SPSS file. You'll see it says open up an existing data source so you can look for the most recent file you saved. We're going to X out of here, however, and we're going to go into this brand new data file. And this is what they call the data editor. This is going to create a .sav file. And notice we've got this data view and variable view. And we could switch back and forth. What's going to happen here is each of our variables is going to be named here. We're going to decide on it what kind of type it is, numeric or string, width, its decimals, labels, values, missing values, how we'll treat those, and some other things that we're not going to deal with right away. So let's go back into data view. And what here is we've got our cases. So one person's data is going to go along here, and each of the unique variables right here. So you're going to get used to going back from variable view to data view. And let's start entering our data. You have some data in your lesson. And we're going to go here to variable view first. And despite SPSS gives it a case number here, we're going to still give it an ID number. And let's go capital letters there. Now type here, we'll click here, type. The default's numeric, and that's exactly what we have, numeric. The other possibility is for a string, and this means you just, put in letters, and you can have names and just categorically name thing. However, it's very difficult to work with strings and analyze strings, almost impossible. So I'm going to recommend you try and use numeric as much as you can. Here's this default, also we see in SPSS, 8 digits wide with 2 decimal places of those 8 digits. So we're going to click OK, but we're going to change this. You can't change the width first, you have to go to decimals. So let's change these decimals. Our IDs are going to run up, let's say they're going to run up to 1,000. So we'll need a width of 4. So our decimals can be 0, and then we'll go over here and choose our width of 4. Okay, labels, this would be what's this ID about? It's obvious it's an ID, so we're not going to give it values or labels or anything else here. We're pretty much done with ID. You can look in your data set, and the next thing it says gender. Again, we could put this in male or female and go down here and put this as a string and then enter the words male or female. But again, very difficult to analyze. So I encourage you always to change whatever you've got into some kind of numeric variable. Here gender is going to be a 1 or a 2, so we only need a width of 1. Watch what I do here. If I try and change this first and go down to a width of 1, we get this error. The number of decimal places is too large for the width field. So what we have to do is start with the decimals, go down to 0, and we'll go down to our width of 1. Again, it's kind of obvious, gender is gender, but we do need values for it. So we'll click on this. As soon as we make the box active, this pops up. And we're going to say this is quite arbitrary, but we'll say 1 is male, and we add it. And then 2 is going to be female, and it'll add it. And we'll hit OK. And now, let's go back into data view now. We've got ID and gender. We go into variable view, and we've forgotten what gender levels we gave it. We go back here and we can see 1 male. Click and make it active, and you can see it's 1 male, 2 female. Okay, our third variable is going to be age. Again, numeric is the default. Age, let's say somebody could reach 100 years old, hopefully. So what we'll do is all we need is a width of 3. We have no decimals because we don't ask age to that accuracy. Go down here to 0, and we'll go over here to 3. Obvious? Obvious? Our fourth is going to be nationality. This is really what country they're from. Again, we can make this a string, but I encourage you to make it numeric. If you have, let's say we're going to have up to 99 nationalities, or maybe there's 160 or 180 countries in the world. So let's go here. We'll make this 0, and we'll go over here. And to allow that, we'll go down, oops, the other way, and go down to a width of 3, so we can code up the 999 nations. Now here on values, we are going to have to enter our nationalities here. So we arbitrarily said 1, and you're an American. Add it. 2, and you are an Indian. From India. 3, we said this would be Japanese. And 4, you are from South Africa. So South African. And now we've defined our nationality. The last is our actual items, and we said question 1. Here we're on a 1 to 7 scale, so it's going to take a 0. Here we'll go down to 1, because a width of 1 will code up to 10 different 0 through 9. Now here we have the values we might put in. Oh, actually, let's go back to labels first. Here on the question, we might want to say, what is that question? And it turns out that this question deals with sad moods. So instead of writing out the whole question, which we could, we'll just put sad moods. And that's the prevalence of sad moods. Okay. And now for values here, let's put what our scale was. And so we had 1, which was strongly, did I spell that right now? Strongly false. 4 was sometimes false, sometimes true. And a 7 was strongly true. Whoops, I forgot to add it. Okay, now we just didn't have anchors for 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. I could have put all 7 in, so we'll hit OK. Now, question 2. Notice it went back to the default. So what we could do here is copy, whoops, let's go here first. Copy this cell and paste it here now. Copy this cell and paste it. And so we've gotten the same way we did defaults, probably just as fast. Question 2 had to do with suicidal thoughts. Suicidal thoughts, and psychologists call it suicidal ideation, so we'll use the fancier term. Let's go over here, copy the coding, and paste it. And now we've got the same one. Let's check it. Yep, there they are for each one. So now we'll go to question 3. Let's see if we'll copy the whole thing for, nope, sorry, we want to go over here. Copy here, copy, paste, copy, paste, and now all 3 of our questions have the identical answering. Here, this dealt with getting depressed easily. Again, we'll copy this, values, and we'll paste right over it. and we are set. Now let's go back into our data view, and now we can see one subject score is ID 1, and this was Jim Smith. If you wanted to record Jim Smith, and you make sure, I caution against using any names in data sets, since we promise our subjects anonymity almost every time without any kind of exception. So if you want to make sure that 1 is Jim Smith, then write that down on a piece of paper, lock it in a drawer, make sure it's safe and confidential. Jim's gender, remember, was 1. Let's say I forgot. Did we decode gender 0 or 1? Go back into variable view, go back into gender. That's right, 1 was male, 2 was female. So go back into data view. Jim's age, he was 19. His nationality, he was an American. So remember, American, we coded 1. His answer here was a 4 on the scale. His answer here was a 6. Answer here was a 5. 2. VJ Singh. VJ was a, what did we get? 1 for male. His age was 21. His nationality was 2, because we did that in order. And his answers were 1, 2, and 1. 1, 2, 1. Okay, our D3 was Taruko, and Taruko was female. Her age was 17. Her nationality was 3, since we did those in order, and her answers were 5, 2, 6. 5, 2, 6. And our 4th ID, gender was 2. The age was 20. Nationality was 4, since we did them in order, which was South African. And then the answers were 3, 5, 6. 3, 5, 6. 3, 5, 6. Okay, and there's our data. And so remember, if we went into variable view, we could look up any of these variables and its identity and go back into data view, and we have our data view. So now let us save this data, and we'll go save as, and let's go up here to desktop, and we'll save this data as our depression study. And notice the default's going to be a .sav. So this data editor, this data that we've entered, is going to be saved as a .sav file. So we'll say data study yes, and .sav, and we'll save it. We're going to replace this existing data set. Or we could have saved it as a new data set. Now notice it went into the statistics viewer. This is an output. It's called a .sbo file. IBM SPSS calls this the statistics viewer, and so all it did is tell us, we said it'd save it, so it saved it, and here's the location that it saved it at. Notice that the default was a .sav file for any of our spreadsheets. We can go here though, and notice this is the output, the .sbo. We're going to click on this, and we're going to say, no, don't save it, we don't need it. Do not save the contents of the output. And then we just default back into our depression study. So if we had exited this whole database, we've saved it, and we went back into this default, and we wanted to open it back up, here's one way we could do it. Let's go back down here, recently used data files, and you can look over here, and you can see it's right down here. And it pulled our data back up. So we file, exit, we don't need that output, and we're back.